Like many African homes, my dad was far educated than my mom. My dad was a graduate who was also a primary school teacher and rose to become the head teacher in one of the primary schools. A very respectable educationist in the community who taught me how to read, how to write. I remember that after school, my dad would teach me mathematics, and so I owe my numeracy skills to him. In fact, he taught me everything I know about being a man: how to lace my shoe, how to, tie a flying tie, and all of that. In fact, my dad would read over my notes and then help me rehearse for a speech. So I guess I owe him, my eloquence also. But my mom, on the other hand, was a petty trader, or is still a petty trader. She'll go to the market to buy, corn, tomatoes, pepper, and all of that, and then come home to sell at the local kiosk. So it never made sense to me. How come my mom, who was not as educated as my dad, or did not earn, a decent salary like my dad, was far richer than him? And I'm sure you've also made similar observations in your own home or even in your community, whereby the women who sell in the marketplace seem to have a lot of money than those so-called graduates with decent or secure jobs. And we certainly see the case here in the UK also, or even in the West, whereby those who really have the money are not the nurses who work in the NHS or lecturers or people in salaried workers, but it is actually the plumber, the handyman, the one who works in the washing bay. It is the mechanic. It is those guys who drive the best cars who have the most money. So why is that the case that those who seem to have menial jobs or blue collar jobs seem to have a lot more money than those who are salaried workers? Stay with me and I'll explain why. If you grew up in an African home as I did, you would have been taught that the father is the breadwinner of the family. Many of us have been led, scrap that, many of us have been misled into thinking that our dads are the breadwinners of the family, when in real case, our mothers were the showstoppers. And Lucy Dari was complicit in this. You see, I grew up in a home whereby if my mother wanted to give me money for school, she would give it to my dad to give me. Or she would say something along the lines of, Shadrach, your dad says I should give you this money. Or your dad left your money on the table. When in real case, the money was coming from her. And it never made sense to me. Why wouldn't simply she say that, she is the richer one in the family, but make it look like, my dad was the one providing everything for us? And I've thought of a few theories. One, was it because, she wanted to keep up the cultural, appearance that the father is the one who provides for the family? Or was it her way of, allowing or encouraging my dad to assert his authority as the head of the home? Or was that her way of raising her son to know that it was the duty of the man to provide for his home? Well, I'll leave those explanations to Joel Danyanya, who speaks about love, marriage, and parenting on his YouTube channel. I'll put a link to his channel in the description box below. Head there and go see what Joel talks about. I'm sure you'll learn a thing or two. Of course, I'm not seeking to disrespect my dad in any way in this video, but I wanted to use this video to shed light on some of the things that made my mom richer than my dad. And if you stay with me till the end of this video, you would understand why. Use the comment section to let me know what was the case in your home. Was your mom the richer one who was running the show, or it was your dad? What was the dynamics like? Do share with me in the comment section. So I'm going to share with you 3 observations that I've made as to why my mom, or why those in blue-collar jobs, seem to have more money than those in the formal sector. You can use the comment section to let me know other observations that you have made. And while doing that, can you click on the subscribe button? I would really appreciate it. The first observation I make from my mom is that as a petty trader, she knew how to gather little by little. You see, when Lucy Dari goes to the market to buy a carton of milk or a box of sugar or a bag of rice to sell, she understood that her profit margins were not much. She would have to sell the whole carton of milk to make a profit, which is equivalent to a tin of milk. Or she would have to sell, the 200 cedis bag of rice to make a profit of, say, 2 cedis. And so she learned how to gather this little 2 cedis, little 3 cedis here and there to gather them to continue her trade. On the other hand, we as salaried workers do not have respect for these little monies. Because we earn in the thousands at the end of the month, we simply give out, 50 cedis here without a care, or 20 pounds there without a thought. And in the process of doing this repeatedly, we find ourselves needing more money before the month even ends. I remember on this occasion, my younger brother called me that, Shadrach, I think our mother doesn't like me. Was I adopted? Tell me. Because he had simply gone to take a tin of milk, and this woman has been chasing him since morning, and he couldn't understand. But my mom understood that by my little brother taking just a tin of milk, that is him eating away her profits. So it means that the whole carton of milk has no profit because he simply come to take the tin of milk. And so my mom insisted that whoever takes from her shop had to pay. She would argue that if you went outside to buy, you would have paid for it. So why wouldn't you pay her for it? And now it makes a lot of sense. Because we as salaried workers, like my younger brother, do not think that this is just a little thing. But because my mom was a petty trader, she understood the power in gathering the little here, the little there, what others call, these multiple streams of income. The second observation that I make is that my mom had very little desires, and so she spent less than she earned. You see, Lucidari would simply, drink tea and bread in the morning, and then continue to drink that tea throughout the day until later in the evening when she would eat a proper meal. Because for the most part, she was busy running around doing different things. On the other hand, or we as salaried workers would have breakfast to go to work to teach. And then while at work, maybe have lunch with a colleague, or coffee here with another colleague. And then in the evening when we come home, we eat a proper meal, and that is us done. And in the process of this here, this there, we spend a lot more than my mom, who was simply staying at home and then, just drinking tea. In another fashion, my mom did not attend many occasions. In fact, the only occasion she knows how to attend is funerals. Every Saturday, this woman is going for one funeral or another. But come to think of it, all that she wore to these funerals was a black dress. It doesn't matter whether you have 10 black dresses or 20 black dresses. It is a black dress. So sometimes she will end up repeating dresses without even knowing. My dad, on the other hand, or we as salaried workers, will be invited to several, prestigious occasions. And so you didn't want to repeat a suit, or you want to wear the latest shoe, or you want to wear the quality watch, and all of these things because others are watching. So in the process of, meeting these expectations or these desires, we end up spending a lot more than we actually earn because we also ought to keep up with these social appearances and these reputations and all of that. And so that is another way we spend more than, the market women. And so, they end up keeping more money and in the process be able to invest more. Third and final observation is that my mom had access to, larger credit than perhaps my dad. You see, because my mom was a petty trader who could demonstrate to the banks that she made a profit of, say, 100 cedis or 200 cedis a day, the banks loved her. Because come to think of it, if somebody can show you that I make money on a daily basis, if she was making 100 cedis a day, that means she was making, say, 3,000 in a month. Or if she was making even 200 cedis a day, then she's making 6,000 in a month. But there's something also about the daily money, and the banks absolutely love that because they know that she can pay on a day-to-day basis to give them something, what they call cash flow or cash returns. Unlike, other salaried workers who would have to wait a month to come to an end before they could actually pay you something. Which of these two do you think the banks would love? In addition, because my mom's own was for a business, the banks tended to give her larger loans because they knew that they could collateralize her business and always support a business to grow. But if you're a salaried worker, for say a nurse in the NHS, you're not going to take a loan against the NHS. You don't own the NHS. But for the mechanic or for the plumber, they have a viable business which they can collateralize or they can use as, as security to go for a much bigger loan for their business. And so by accessing these larger loans, they are able to build their wealth. In fact, one final and bonus point was that my mom also did what is known as susu, or, what the Nigerians call ajo, or, whatever you call it. They had these little women's groups who collect money among themselves and at the end of the month give it to one person. And so in the process of doing that, she had access to 0% loan because these monies did not come with any interest. And so she could have access to a larger amount of money, which she could use for, her business or for any other thing she wanted, and pay 0% on that. On the other hand, salaried workers will go to the bank to go collect a loan at 20%, 30%, 10%, and be paying an interest on this, and in the process, be taking money out of their pockets. I hope by sharing these 4 observations with you, you can already think of ways in which you can actually build your wealth. First is to appreciate the little monies, the 2 cedis here, the £2 here, there. These are the little monies that you can put together to build something proper. The second point is to reduce your desires, your expenses, and caring less about what people think you are wearing or where you go. It is only when you have reduced your expenses that you would have surplus to invest or to save or to build your wealth. The third and final point is to actually have access to bigger credit by building your credit score. I already have a video on how you can improve your credit score, and I'll put a link to that in the description box below. But it is through accessing, cheaper loans, 0% credit, that you'll be able to have money to collateralize to build your wealth. Our market women have more money than salaried workers because they understand these fundamentals. As to whether they can, put it in these words as I have is a different issue. But they have, actually practiced these principles, and they know that it works. So perhaps for the graduate who is thinking of, getting into a salaried, high-paying job, maybe consider a job where, you can save little by little per day. And this can actually allow you to build some wealth. And forget this fallacy about salaried worker, about security of job, about, wearing a tie and all of these. Perhaps that is actually what is going to take money out of your pocket. And for friends who are thinking of coming abroad and looking for, some luxurious positions to occupy, perhaps if your aim is to build wealth, then you would want to consider that menial job. Because we in the West, those of us here in the UK, in America, we understand that those with the real money isn't the lecturer, isn't the professor, isn't the nurse, isn't, the salaried worker or the banker, It is the mechanic. It is the one who works in the convenience shop. They are the guys with the real money. So, those truths were true back in the day, and it is true today. Well, a wise man has once said, when you take care of the pennies, the pound will take care of itself. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and until I meet you at the next one, kindly consider subscribing to my channel and help me promote this for all the nuggets that I share. Until we meet again, adios, my friends. Bye for now, and God bless.